Open my timeline. Should I start with the intro or the ending? Maybe music? Too serious. Too sad. What is this, 2010? I guess I should organize my footage. Maybe I'll color grade it first. I bet there's a YouTube video. No, focus. Let's start with the ending. Are people gonna like this? To find the right Why quote. Am I filming? Where'd that should I have kept my never making anything good sound again? Effects? I might as well start over. Creative block. It's a bitch, and it plagues every single one of us filmmakers. Today I want to share with you some tips on how to hopefully make creative block loosen its grasp on your entire existence, because when I'm in a creative rut, I feel like I have no purpose in life and that I suck at everything, and I might as well go back and work my high school job at McDonald's flipping burgers. Number 1. Creating versus refining. There are two states of mind that our brain tends to operate in when we're working on a film or any creative project. There's creating mode, which is the act of going from nothing to creating something that exists in the real world. And then there's the refining mode, which is the act of taking something that's bad or not perfect and transforming it, tweaking it, refining it into something that's great. One of the major sources of creative block, however, is when we let these two states of mind mix together. We start to let perfectionism creep into our creative process, and self-doubt rips apart all of our ideas before they have a chance to exist outside of our head. This is what causes that dreaded empty timeline anxiety. When we're staring at an empty timeline, it's not like we have any shortage of ideas in our head, but we're letting that inner critic judge our ideas before we even have a chance to experiment and test them out in our edit. To avoid creative block, I like to think of these two states of mind as two separate stages to creativity. When we keep these two separate, when we let ourselves stay in that creating mode initially, we give ourselves the space, we take the pressure off, we allow ourselves to play, experiment, test, and do it without any fear of anything being good. Because the more we let ourselves play, the more we can stay in that creative state of mind, the more our unique voice just naturally tends to bubble up. This voice is inside of you, it's always there. The problem is getting out of your own head, getting out of your own way, silencing that inner critic, and letting yourself just get it all out of your system. Don't worry about it being perfect right away. Trust that you'll always have a chance to come back later and refine things and turn whatever your nuggets of ideas are into fully fleshed out films and beautiful works of art. Number 2, make a vomit draft. I've actually borrowed this term from the writing world. A vomit draft essentially is a first cut or a first draft that has one goal in mind: to empty your brain of all of its ideas and to finish your draft as quickly as possible without any form of editing, tweaking, or refining. I've adapted this term in my film editing, and I call it the version 0. Rather than making a version 1 of your edit, there's two reasons why it might be worthwhile to make a version 0 instead. There's something about labeling it as version 0, knowing that it's not even good enough in your brain to be considered your first official rough cut, that just takes all of the pressure of creating something beautiful off your chest. It allows you to stay in that creative, playful, fun mode where you don't feel held back by your own abilities, your own walls, your own emotions. You feel like you're in a sandbox as a kid, playing around. No ideas are off limits, and you stay in that creative flow. It often is the most fun version of the edit to make because you're not worried about anything at this point. The second reason for making a version 0 is that it forces you to cross a finish line. because it's far more useful to have a complete bad thing than it is to have an incomplete good thing where most of the ideas are still rattling around in your brain. When you have a complete version of your edit, even though it's not perfect, you can tweak and refine from there. It's a great stepping stone. It's easier to understand what's working and what's not working in your edit when it's laid out in front of you. When you don't make a complete first draft, you're not forced to confront what ideas are good or bad, because when everything exists in your brain, every idea is perfect. Every idea has this idyllic sheen to it that you look at it with rose-colored glasses. But once you put it on an editing timeline, it's raw, it's exposed. You can see if that idea is actually going to work or if you have to change gears and come up with a new idea. Which leads me to my next point. 3. Get feedback early and often. When I was first making films, I was terrified of getting any feedback from anybody. When you're new to the creative process, your self-worth and your ego is so wrapped up in the work that you feel like any negative criticism is personal. Any negative feedback feels personal. It feels like someone is saying, "You're shit at filmmaking. I knew it all along, and now you've just gone and proven it to me." It sounds extreme, but to anyone who's been through the process, you know what I'm talking about. This, however, couldn't be further from the truth. Good feedback from trusted people who know what they're talking about shouldn't break you down. The goal of it is to build you up. Great feedback shakes you loose from the shackles of your own mind. As filmmakers, we get so close to the subject and the footage that we lose track of the forest for the trees. When you get feedback from someone you trust who understands your process and the creative process as a whole, it liberates you from all of these little ruts and grooves that you get stuck in. Great feedback isn't about saying this is good or this is bad. It's about helping you clarify what your goals are for your film, what you're trying to say, and working out what parts of your edit are working towards or against this goal. It's nothing personal. It's not that you're a bad filmmaker. It's not that you're any worse than anyone else. It's just that this current version of the edit isn't serving the goal that you're trying to achieve. So seek out great feedback from really wise people who know what they're talking about, people who know how to ask the right questions and get you to think differently about your edit. It'll help shake you loose, get you out of these ruts that you're stuck in, and give you some new perspective on your edit, which might be just enough of a push to get you going again. Number 4, take a break. It's a little bit cliche. You've probably heard this before. Get up, go for a walk, have a bite to eat, clear your mind, sleep on it. All these forms of taking a break from your work. And I agree with those. But when I say take a break here, that's not what I'm talking about. Take a break by making something else, by working on something different. As editors, we sit in front of screens all day. We get stuck in front of monitors staring at digital things that exist within a box. Try and break free from that. Take a break from screens. Grab yourself a pen and paper. You can start writing, start doodling, go for a walk to your library and grab a physical book and read words on physical, tactile paper. Go to a museum and look at paintings. Find a song or an album in a genre of music that you don't normally listen to and put on headphones and close your eyes and just let yourself drift away in the music. The point is, creativity isn't restored by idle relaxation. Sure, your brain's energy can catch up with you, but creative inspiration comes from novelty. It comes from trying out new things and being inspired, finding that spark again. This is why so many great artists actually cross-pollinate in different disciplines. Paul McCartney, for example, doodled and sketched ever since he was a kid. Jim Carrey, who is one of the greatest comedians and actors of all time, now is pursuing a career in painting. Brian May, the lead guitarist of one of my favorite bands that have ever existed, Queen, has a PhD in astrophysics. So give yourself a break from your film. Try out different things. Go try something you're bad at with no risk. Get out there, seek novelty. You never know where inspiration might strike. Number 5, embrace the process. Lastly, as filmmakers and creatives, we must accept that creative blocks don't exist separately from the process of creating. They are one and the same. We need to accept that we chose to do something hard, and with hard things comes struggle and frustration. Creative block is not a reflection on you or your abilities as an artist. It doesn't mean you are better or any worse than anyone else out there. Creative block is a universal symptom of the creative process. So learn to love it, learn to embrace this project, learn to live in the discomfort and struggle of trying to achieve something unique. Learn to trust that on the other side of this process is something beautiful and magical and infinitely rewarding. Discipline yourself to finish projects because everything you're after, everything you want is on the other side of that fear. And you, myself, and the world want nothing more to see your art living out there in the wild. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Later.